So there are 2 days to go until Christmas, of course, and some families are getting some shocking news. President Biden announcing the commutations of 34 of 40 federal death row inmates, those benefiting, including child killers and mass murderers like Jose Oliva Torres, who was put behind bars after murdering 2 little girls and a woman between 2005 and 2009. Torres stabbed an 8 and 9-year-old girl after sexually assaulting them in a Chicago suburb in 2005. Then 4 years later, he strangled 20-year-old naval officer Amanda Snell to death in Arlington, Virginia.
Another one is convicted murderer Thomas Stephen Sanders. He shot a 12-year-old 4 times, cut her throat in Louisiana back in 2010. He now gets life.
The Attorney General Merrick Garland recommending to President Biden all but a handful of these death sentences be commuted. Now, the exceptions include Boston Marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, Pittsburgh synagogue killer Robert Bowers, and the church shooter down in South Carolina, Dylan Roof, all very high profile, all with political sensitivities. But I would imagine if you are a loved one of any of the other 37, you're like, well, okay, you made these 3 exceptions for stories people have heard about. What about our justice?
Yeah.
What about our kid? And look, I'm actually against the death penalty in cases where there's any ambiguity about guilt whatsoever. But some of these people, absolute stone cold killers, proven beyond any doubt. And Joe Biden comes in the final days of his presidency and waves this wand. And I think we're going to hear from some of these families very, very unhappy about this.
I mean, if you were shocked by the 1,500 that he commuted the sentences, this should shock you to the core. So these people are going from being on death row to serving life in prison, which means that they're waking up happy today. And can you imagine being the mother of those 2 little girls who were murdered and hear that the Biden administration is going to give the killer of your children a win? And the thinking behind the scenes in excluding the 3 people, Dylan Roof and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev and the other individual that's not getting a sentence commuted, is that they were the worst killers, so that they can't do that. You're going to look at a mother and say that the man that killed her 2 daughters is not among the worst. How do you judge that? How do you have the moral compass to do that?
You just got to wonder if he's doing any of this. So 37 of 40 are going to get, 37 of 40 will get life instead of death. And why would he do this? Well, he's going to go visit the Pope. And the Pope is against the death penalty.
Yeah.
And maybe he's trying to expunge, have one thing, because he's also campaigned on the fact how much he loves abortion. So as a Catholic, you're going to go see the Pope. It's like, hey, yeah, I'm pro-abortion, but on the good side is I'm going to save some of the death penalty.
Yeah, and
so I'll let the
killers,
let the fetus die, but I'll let the murderers live.
That is so true. And you know what? I do sympathize with people who are against the death penalty. But what Joe Biden should have done, if he wanted to leave his mark on this, is something that he didn't do. The Wall Street Journal says the administration didn't give priority to bills to end federal capital punishment when he was in office, didn't follow through on his campaign pledge to call on states to eliminate the death penalty. If he wanted to make this a priority during his administration, that's what he should have done. Not at the 11th hour, commute these sentences and rob people of the justice that they thought they had.
Well, and the other thing is, Carly, he's presenting this in the statement that was written for him, right? The administration is presenting this as a principled stance against the death penalty. Is like, we're against capital punishment. We're not going to let the next guy come in and carry out these executions when we had a moratorium. Okay, if you're so principled, why the exceptions, right? Principles don't have exceptions.
Political blowback.
Politics. It's all about politics. So if you're one of the 37 other families, sorry, your politics didn't matter as much than those 3, which they flagged for political reasons, which is very different than a principled stand.